the big bright idea here at the U Sports Report New Mexico. Okay, we mentioned earlier that the NFL has proposed a few rule changes to the instant replay system, which got us to thinking. Is the instant replay system really working, and what type of rule changes and or additions or subtractions would we like to see to the game? Kimberly?
We talked about this off camera, and I think there's a lot of glitches when they make these big major changes in any sport. This instant replay change that they've made, of course there's things they need to fine tune to make it a better and more applicable change to the NFL. But I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it. I think so far it's given a lot of referees and teams the opportunity to look back and make sure they made the right call, and it makes a lot of mistakes kind of null.
Okay. I understand that. Tyler, how do you feel?
The last couple of changes that they made over the last few years, where all scoring plays and turnovers are reviewed, I think that was the best decision they could have made.
Yeah.
And as far as having somebody out at central headquarters at the NFL offices in New York, I think that's another great change, because we all know it's just human nature, guys. If you're there in that atmosphere, human nature, it's hard to stay unbiased. Even as a referee wearing the zebra stripes. So I like the fact that they do have somebody out there that's neutral, that's out there just watching the game on a TV screen, out there fixing these calls. The thing I would like to see most, and I know they've been working on it, is speeding up the replay process. NFL games are already over 3 hours long, and when you get multiple reviews on touchdowns and fumbles and everything else, it just drags the game on, guys.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see it maybe expedited just a little bit. But not to the point where they're getting the calls wrong.
Give them a time limit, possibly?
Yes.
Since they'll be working with the league officials in New York to determine, the proper yardage for a pass interference play. After a penalty, what's the proper yardage down and distance? Now, they aren't opening up new plays to possibly be reviewed. And if they do that, how far do you go? Holding happens basically on every play.
Every single play.
So are you going to be able to open up holding to that type of scrutiny? Or, one thing the NFL still has to decide is what is a catch?
Yes.
They use instant replay often to determine what a catch is, and I think that is the biggest quagmire, conundrum, ambiguous statement in all of the world of sports. The NFL does not know what a catch is and what isn't a catch. They're going to have to truly define that, because right now, instant replay serves as a tool for coaches and officials, but it definitely serves as a tool for coaches. I, being a New York Giants fan, Tom Coughlin is the winningest coach with instant replay. I think he was batting at an 850 type clip with that. And it's wonderful, and it helped him out. In the past couple seasons, it fell off, hence why he was let go. But these are big decisions and big parts of the game. Is the NFL doing everything they can to get it right?
Go ahead.
I don't think that you can ever say that the NFL is doing everything they can. There's always something they could do differently. And Tyler and I had a talk a little while ago about being that referee for any game on any level of sports. You're always wrong no matter what call you make. Somebody's going to be unhappy with it. And the NFL can't please everyone. So I think their attempts at these replay calls, it's to try and make it as unbiased and as clear-cut as they can make it, which I think is important. But I don't know.
Okay.
As far as the catch thing goes, I just have one thing to say. Dez caught it. That's all I got to say. It was a catch. I know by the letter of the law it wasn't a catch, but I think that is the biggest thing as far as the rule changes. I don't think you can get into the replay discussion. That's just going to open up an entire Pandora's box of all these calls. It's going to prolong the games even more for what it's worth on that point. But I mean, like you said, holding happens on every single play.
Yeah.
Every single play in the trenches. There's always going to be, a little bit of unwanted hand checks out there in the secondary. So I don't think that you can necessarily review penalties as they already have it set in place now. I like that rule. Because like I said, it's just going to open up a huge can of worms.
Well, it can open up a can of worms, but I think it'll also be incumbent upon the officials and the players to officiate and play with a lot more efficiency. Whenever leagues in all sports make these changes, particularly in professional sports, they do that with the caveat of understanding that these are the pros, these are the best available players on the planet to play this particular game. They can adjust their skill set and their athleticism to match the rules in which they have in place. And I will make a note on that play. I do agree. Dez did make that catch against Green Bay in the second round of the NFL playoffs. However, the week before, in the wild card round, there was an obvious pass interference call that went against Detroit that the refs missed and they should have called. Because how many times are we watching a game, there's a flag thrown for this, but another official comes and tells them to pick up the flag because this is what they saw. The NFL could do the same thing with replay, particularly on very important plays. Maybe open it up to the last 2 minutes of the game. A certain amount of plays are going to be open for official review. Look, there's a ton of things that the NFL can do about this. Well, one question I want to ask before we move on, before we wrap everything up. What would you like to see added to the game or taken away from the game?
The one thing that really comes to mind when you ask that, and I know it's not necessarily in compliance with what we're talking about, but I think that I watched that Will Smith movie, Concussion, and the NFL has made a lot more attempts at adjusting their rules to fit the health of these players. I watched a few college teams have done some concussion studies. I think that they need to be more observant of what these players need after a concussion or even to prevent them further. That's one thing I would love to see change in any pro sport. They need to be a little bit more aware of the health and hazards that come with these guys because they do play at such an intense competitive level of sport.
You know, one thing that I just got to say about these referees is that they are human.
Yes.
You know, and humans do make mistakes, and I think that's a valuable part of the game. You know, it's just like baseball with the umpires. They don't have a robotic strike zone that's going to call the balls and strikes for you. Now baseball's implemented instant replay, so it's not just on human judgment. But I do have sort of a soft spot for the referees because, like I said, they are human. You are going to make mistakes. These guys aren't perfect. You know, this NFL referee, this is a side job for these guys. It's not a full-time deal. So I mean, of course, they're going to be in the off season watching all the tape that they possibly can. You know, working on their craft and all that good stuff. But like I said, these guys are human. So
Yes.
what I would like to see is the fans not placing the blame on the referees at the end of the game because they missed one call. Because we know over the course of a 3-hour game, there's over 100 plays in a football game that any single one of those can leverage the outcome of the game.
Yes.
So one thing I would like to see taken away is the distaste for the referees. I know it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. You're always going to have those guys in the crowd saying, "Are you blind? Do you need glasses?" But that's just my 2 cents.
I understand. Look, the refs have a hard time. Maybe one thing the NFL can do is institute full-time officials. Pay these guys a full salary to do nothing but study the game and work on the skills, understand the nuances of all the rules. There were a few times last season that none of the referee crews were aware of the particular rules in instant situations. If you allow full-time referees, we could change that. Look, we know what happened when we had the scab referees, and we don't want any more fail Marys. Another suggestion I have is possibly how they have the pylon cams to help them determine what's a touchdown and who's out of bounds. It worked very well last season. Sometimes on field goals and extra points, it's a little bit dicey. They need to put goalpost cams up at the top of each goalpost so we can determine, hey, if this field goal was actually good or not. We'll see. The NFL's got a lot of changes to make, and hey, as fans, we're going to ride with them no matter what they decide. All right, that's it for another episode of the U Sports Report. For Kimbry Temple, Tyler Ortega, Rob Parker, and everybody else here, I'm Khalil Ekalona. We will not be here on Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, so we'll see you next Tuesday. Try to make it without us. See you later.